Have you ever had a moment where everything suddenly felt familiar for no clear reason? You walk into a room, someone says something, the light hits the wall in a certain way, and then it happens. A strange feeling appears out of nowhere. You have lived this before. Not something similar. Not something close. This exact moment. This exact second. For a split second, you feel like you already know what is about to happen. And then, just as quickly as it came, the feeling disappears. That feeling has a name, déjà vu, a French phrase that simply means already seen. But the experience feels much stranger than the words themselves. It is not the normal feeling of recognizing a place or remembering a conversation. It feels like the present has somehow become a memory, like reality briefly repeated itself, and only you noticed. Almost everyone experiences déjà vu at least once. Some people only feel it a few times in their lives, while others experience it much more often. It is especially common in teenagers and young adults. And even though it feels mysterious, it is usually completely normal. The strange part is how convincing it feels. Your brain is not saying, "This reminds me of something." It is saying, "I have already lived this exact moment." The certainty feels real. But once the feeling fades, you cannot explain it. You cannot find the original memory because there isn't one. So what is actually happening? Did your brain predict the future? Did time somehow repeat itself? Or is your mind playing one of its strangest tricks? The most likely explanation begins with how your brain processes information. Every second, it receives an incredible amount of sights, sounds, smells, movements, and emotions. Processing every tiny detail from scratch would be impossible, so the brain takes shortcuts. It constantly compares the present with things it has already experienced. It is always asking one simple question: have I seen something like this before? Most of the time, this system works perfectly, but sometimes it makes a mistake. Scientists believe déjà vu may happen when the brain accidentally marks a completely new experience as familiar. One part of the brain sends a familiarity signal, while another part cannot find an actual memory connected to it. The result is incredibly strange. You experience the feeling of remembering something that never actually happened. That is why déjà vu feels so powerful. The emotion is real. The certainty is real. But the memory itself does not exist. Another theory is even stranger. Imagine your brain processing the same moment twice. Not because time repeated, but because one tiny signal arrived a fraction of a second before another. The difference is so small that you never consciously notice it. But when the second signal arrives, your brain mistakenly believes it has already experienced the first one. In other words, what feels like a memory from the past may simply be the present arriving twice. There is another fascinating possibility. Sometimes a completely new place secretly shares small details with somewhere you visited years ago. Maybe the layout of the room, the color of the walls, the sound of someone's voice, the smell in the air, the angle of the sunlight. Individually, none of these details stand out. But together, they trigger a deep feeling of familiarity hidden inside your memory. Your conscious mind cannot identify the original memory, but another part of your brain can. And for just a few seconds, that hidden recognition becomes déjà vu. Perhaps the creepiest thing about déjà vu is what it reveals about your brain. Every second of your life, your mind is doing thousands of things without telling you. It compares, predicts, filters, organizes, recognizes patterns, builds your reality before you are even aware of it. Normally, all of this stays hidden behind the scenes. But during déjà vu, it is almost as if the curtain opens for a brief moment, allowing you to see the machinery working underneath. That alone is fascinating enough. And yet, many people believe déjà vu means something much bigger. Some think it is evidence of parallel universes. Others believe it is proof of past lives. Some say it is the universe telling you that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. It is easy to understand why people believe these ideas. Déjà vu feels important. It feels personal. It feels almost supernatural. But the human brain creates strange experiences all the time. It creates dreams that feel real. It creates false memories. It makes you hear your phone vibrating when it never did. It makes you forget why you walked into a room. It even fills in the blind spots in your vision without you realizing it. Your brain edits reality every single second. Most of the time, it does such a good job that you never notice. Deja vu may simply be one of those rare moments where you catch it in the act. And maybe that is even more incredible than any paranormal explanation, because it reminds us that reality is not something we experience directly. Reality first passes through one incredibly complex machine, your brain. It decides what feels familiar, what feels important, what deserves attention, and occasionally, it gets confused. For just a few seconds, déjà vu makes you question everything. Not because reality changed, but because your experience of reality suddenly did. The room becomes more than a room. The conversation becomes more than a conversation. An ordinary moment suddenly feels impossible. Then, just as quickly as it started, it disappears. Everything goes back to normal, and you are left asking yourself one simple question. Have I really lived this before? Probably not. You probably did not travel through time. You probably did not slip into another universe. You probably did not unlock a forgotten past life. Most likely, your brain simply looked at the present, mistakenly stamped it with the feeling of the past, and handed it to you with complete confidence. And maybe that is the strangest part of all, because it reminds us that the greatest mystery is not hidden somewhere out in the universe. It may already be sitting inside our own minds.